So first of all, I want to thank everybody for joining us to another Taste of Shabbos. This evening, it's all about main dishes. And we're also going to hear from several women about their journey. And it's the perfect evening to hear about journey. Should I tell you why? Because in this week's Torah portion, it's called Lech Lecha. Go, go, go. It's all about Abraham on his travels and his journey. But what we learn about Abraham this coming week, this Torah portion, is different than what we learned about Noah last week. Noah, he was a righteous man. He very much was, and he was saved. But the difference between him and Abraham is that Noah was righteous on his own. He wore this coat, a fur coat, warmed him up, but he didn't know how to warm other people up. He didn't know how to inspire others. But Abraham this week, he learns and he knows how to light that fire. He knows how to inspire others. His journey is what gets everybody else inspired. And tonight, we're going to learn from some women here about their journey. And our goal throughout learning about main dishes is to be inspired by their journey through Judaism, their journey through Shabbat, their journey through their trips in Israel. And Esty, who's going to be joining me, is going to hopefully get us started. Is that correct, Elisa? Are we good to start with our first speaker?
Yes, we are.
Yes, so Esty, I'm going to give it over to Esty. And Esty is going to introduce our very first speaker.
You're first.
First, I have to introduce myself. Here I am, Esty, in my kitchen. Ta-da! Anyway, before I start, I just want to say I'm going to make a bracha, because that's the bracha we say before we drink something. My daughter said, like wine or vodka, but I'm not. And look at this. It says, can you see it? Pray more, worry less. So I'm praying this is going to be the best show ever, because we have Long Island as your main attraction. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh bidbaro. And now we're going to talk to our first participant. She came on the trip with us. Her name is Allison. And Allison wants to show us how the trip gave her new perspective and direction in life. And she learned how, instead of tears, we turn things around. So let's hear from Allison. Come on, Allison, turn it around.
Hi, everybody. I'm here with my son, Brad, because he came with me to my very first challah bake, which was my very first J Inspire event. And I think that J Inspire helped me most recently in the journey in this pandemic. This has been a very difficult time for everybody, but through J Inspire, I learned how to say, instead of saying, I think the biggest lesson in this journey has been that I learned how to say, I get to, instead of I have to. And so, what, Esty?
I love what you're saying.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were adding or if I should keep going.
You should tell them what I get to instead. It means great. Go.
So, for example, at the beginning of this, everything seemed very heavy, and everything that we had to do was very heavy. And then when I made that little switch and said, I get to, I was realizing every day how grateful I was and all the blessings of all the things that I was getting to do. I was getting.
Give us an example, like with your parents or with something.
I was just going to say, we do this every week. So we go food shopping for my parents. And instead of saying, oh, I can't believe we have to, I put a smile on my face and I say, I get to bring food to my parents. I bake challah, and then every Friday when we were in quarantine, I would just bring it to them. Now we're so lucky and blessed, they come to us every Friday night for Shabbat dinner. Yes. And we get to have them. And that's one of the things that through J Inspire and the journey in Israel, there was a very big change.
Allison, that's great. So I get to see you We all get to see you, and we have to be happy that you're there. Thank you so much. Allison, keep making Shabbos with your handsome son there.
Thank you. Thank you,
will.
guys. That was great. Thank you so much, Allison. The lesson of not feeling burdened, but rather life is a privilege. And that was really, really very special. Thank you for sharing. So we're going to go to our first cook. Here we go. We're going to Tzipora Sachs. Let's get that slide up and make sure we have Tzipora Sachs ready to go. We should have a slide of what they're going to be doing. So that way we can see. Those are the main dishes. Let's go. Chicken wontons. Is that correct? Tzipora Sachs, chicken wonton? Deconstructed chicken wonton. Yes? Yes. Okay, so that's the recipe. I think the recipe was already posted in the chat, and Tzipora is going to get us started. Let's highlight Tzipora. You're on mute. Unmute. There you go.
Okay. Hi, guys. Tzipora Sachs here from Long Island. I am going to show you how to make deconstructed chicken wontons. Now, I love chicken wontons. I love the way they taste, but I hate frying. So this is a little trick of how we make it delicious without frying. So we take our chicken cutlets. We take 4 raw chicken cutlets. You see, I didn't trim it. It just comes the way they come in the store. You pop it into the pot. You fill it up with water, just to cover the chicken cutlets.
Okay.
You see, you just to cover the chicken cutlets, and you add in 2 tablespoons of chicken consomme. Okay, so we're gonna fill it up with water. I have an assistant here. Fill it up with water. Okay, then you're gonna put it on the flame and you're gonna boil it up. Okay, we're putting it on the flame and boiling it up. You let it boil and you cook it for on medium for about 20 minutes until it's cooked through. So you could cut it with a knife, pierce it with a fork, just to make sure it's not pink inside. Then, when you're done, you're gonna let it cool because we're gonna shred this chicken, and the best way to shred it is with your hands. So you put on your gloves, like this. Okay, now I did a little trick and I cooked already the chicken, and here it is. So we're gonna shred it. So there you go, you mush it. It looks disgusting, but it's really good. So you're gonna shred it with your hands like this. See, some of it's already shredded because I cheated a little bit and I did a little bit before. But here we go, we're gonna shred the chicken. You see, it looks white. It doesn't look like anything exciting. Then once it's all shredded, it takes a little bit of time because I did it a little bit before. Shred this chicken. Okay, oh, I forgot to say, you spill out all the water.
Okay, so drain it.
You drain the chicken after it's cooked, and you let it cool without any water. It cools much faster without any of the water inside. So you're gonna leave it on the counter, let it cool, and then you're going to shred it when it's cool with your hands, or if you want, you can shred it with 2 forks. Then you're going to, hold on, take your sauce. Okay, so I wrote on the list, it's General Chow's like Asian sauce. Now, it could be any type of Asian sauce. I like the flavor of General Chow's, and I happen to like Iron Chef, but it's not an advertisement for Iron Chef. Any company is good, okay? So you're going to take that sauce. You're gonna pour it in. I don't know if you could see, but it's going in the bowl. Oh, here, Shippy is helping me. Look at that. We have a little help from our friends, okay? There we go. Okay, we are going to mix.
Wow.
Look how stunning that looks. Okay, we're mixing.
It tastes good.
It tastes delicious. It doesn't look so gorgeous right now, but it will look gorgeous at the end. Okay.
Yes.
So you're gonna mix this. Now, when you're done mixing it, you leave it on the side. Next, we're gonna deal with the wontons.
Okay.
You take the wontons. They come from the freezer section. You get little squares like this. They also come in round. So you spray the pan, then you take pan spray and you spray the wontons on top. Like give it a nice easy spray. Now, I think I wrote on the recipe that you preheat the oven to 400 before you start. Okay. That way it's ready when you're ready to go. So then you stick this in the oven. Thank you, Shippy. Shippy's putting it right in my oven. And there we have it. Then it comes out, it stays in the oven for about 8 minutes. Now check on them. You don't want them to overcook. You don't want them to burn. So 8 minutes should be fine in the oven. Then when they're ready, they look like this. You see, they look like cracker things. Okay, so they look like this when they're ready. This is what they're supposed to look like. Meanwhile, while it's cooking, I would put together the cabbage coleslaw. Now I'm just going to show you what it looks like at the end. because I put the dressing, and basically you take purple cabbage, you mix together all the dressing ingredients. It's on the recipe list. You shake it up and you pour it on top, and I would let it marinate for about an hour. You want the juices of like the dressing to really get into the cabbage. So now we are ready to assemble. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, before I assemble it, let me just tell you, because sometimes it gets busy before Shabbos. Like it's a little bit of annoying. You have to make 3 different things for one dish. So these wontons could be made in the beginning of the week and put on in a container on your counter. They stay fresh for a long time.
Great to know. Okay.
And this chicken could be made and frozen just like this with the sauce. You could put it in a tin, pop it in the freezer, and then on Friday you just pop it out of the freezer. It's great to have in the freezer.
Okay.
The cabbage dressing could be made up to 5 days in advance. So that could also be made like on a Monday. If you're very organized, like me, of course, I make everything on Monday for Shabbos, you could pop that into your fridge. Okay, so let's just show you how it looks. So we're gonna take our wontons. We're gonna take a scoop of the chicken, put it on top like that, like you put like a little mound on top.
Okay.
Then you're gonna take your salad. Thank you, assistant. Okay, you take your salad and you just put a little bit on top of it, like so. But wait, let me just show you what it looks like on the platter.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then you put it on the platter, messy over here, and voila.
Wow, thank you so
much.
Sipora, thank you. We're going to see that again at the very end. So have that platter ready to go. Let's just make sure we don't have any questions. Can you make this vegetarian or vegan? Can you make this vegetarian or vegan? Like with what would you think?
Okay, so that's a really good question. Maybe tofu? I don't know. Maybe if you could just, shred the tofu and put in the sauce, that could also be fine. Another variation you could do, if someone's like on a diet and they don't like having like these heavy sauces with sugars, you could also just cook that chicken in the consomme, shred it as is, and then just put the coleslaw on top. And like sometimes if I'm like getting a little healthier, I'll eat the chicken with the coleslaw and no wonton.
Okay, there you go. Thank you for all the alternate ways of doing it. So Esty, I'd like to call you back, Esty, because we're ready for our next inspiration. Why don't you introduce Jody for us?
I'm going to introduce Jody. First, I just want to say how beautiful my co-hosts look tonight. And you should see us like an hour ago when we did the rehearsal, okay? Anyway, the next person we're going to meet is Jody. These are all girls. I must tell you who they are. They all came on trips, different times, different years, and it affected their lives. And Jody's going to tell us a very good secret, which I love. It's about challah. And if you make like challah, just like having a home. So she's going to talk to us a little. And remember, this week's Parsha was no heard so great. In your life, we want to know who's steering. Did you know that the Ark didn't have a steering wheel? Actually, my car doesn't have a steering wheel. Even my husband took it out. He was nervous I would drive. But we have to trust Hashem. And we have to trust that each person says the right thing. So here's Jody. Meet Jody, and she'll tell you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jody. I live on Long Island. I went on the trip in 2007 with Esty and Sipora. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do in my house since the trip. Since the trip, I have made challah, I think every week. Maybe once or twice I froze and then took it out of the freezer, but pretty much the reason why I make it every week is because it makes everyone in my house feel like everything is different when Shabbos is here. So my kids go to Jewish day school, they come home early on Friday and they know they can stop and everything stops and it's different. So we're not that religious, but Friday night we have dinner in the dining room. We have it with a tablecloth. We have it with flowers. But the challah itself, I use everything spiced so that we know everything is different from the rest of the week. And especially during the pandemic now, every day seems like Monday. So we're really happy when it's Friday and we get to be together. We kind of stop a little more. Nobody's running to do homework or getting on Zoom or talking to their friends as much. We're, all together. It used to be before the pandemic, it was our most social day of the year when we'd have friends over or we'd be with friends. But we're, feeling our way through this now. We've had 2 separate tables outside in the backyard with 2 separate challahs and 2 separate candles, and we've done that. But now that it's getting a little colder, it's becoming just my family of 5. I have 3 kids, 3 teenagers. And
We
one
know
of our, what, Esty?
3 teenagers. Wow.
Two teenagers. One who went on a gap year to Israel and came home in March, and another one who will hopefully go on a gap year next year. But one of our Shabbat traditions that we do that's a little different than most other people's is that if my grandmother is not with us in my home, which she is not these days because of the pandemic, we call her. And she, for years, has been saying the same prayer every Shabbos. And my kids, like, in a lovingly mocking way, can do it. But basically, she goes like this. She goes, "Dear God, it's me again." And she gives a little talk about, please bless my children and my grandchildren. And don't forget about Israel. And please keep everybody there strong. And it kind of gives us all warm fuzzies. And those are our Shabbat traditions.
Fantastic. And it just shows when you go from grandmother to child to grandchild, that's what makes the difference. We are all a link in the chain, and it's so beautiful to hear. So when I call God, I'm not going to say, "Hey Siri, hey Alexa." I'm going to say, "Hey God, it's me. We have something to talk about." Moving along. Take it away.
Okay, here we go. We're on our next cook. Our second cook up, Shiffy. Where's Shiffy? Let's see if we got Shiffy. She's still in Sipporah's house because she was our Vanna White. Let's see if Sipporah is going to be Shiffy's Vanna White. Let's have the next slide. Let's see what Shiffy's going to be making for us tonight. Let's have the next slide. Let's see our next slide. Beef London broil, correct?
Correct.
Okay, look at that beef London broil. Remember, it is in the chat. There's a link in the chat for these recipes. If you can't seem to get it, you could always email Product Inspire and they will send it to you. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shiffy. I'm also from Long Island. I wanted to share with you a very quick and easy recipe for your Shabbat dinner. Now that the days are getting shorter and the winter days are coming, I wanted a quick and easy main dish that could be done in under 20 minutes from start to finish. Okay, so I have a beef London broil. This is a flat one. You can really make it with any version. I've seen different versions in the store.
Wait a second, Shiffy. Someone just gave it away that it's your birthday.
Oh, it was 2 days ago. But thank you.
Okay, 2 days. Happy birthday, Shiffy.
Thank you. Okay, so I have my raw meat in the pan here, but I'm going to show you a little trick because I like to keep things simple and easy, and I don't like to wash dishes or clean up. Okay, so I'm going to make my marinade in a Ziploc. Now, it's hard to kind of keep it on the counter. So if you take your Ziploc and you put it into a container like this.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Thank you. It just
stands on the counter really nice and nothing gets dirty.
Oh, so smart. I make this and I'm always like trying to balance. Oh, so smart. Thank you.
I'm all into hacks. Okay, so, you know, because I knew I was going to be on a cooking show, I had everything pre-packaged before, but not necessarily how I do it in the kitchen. But if you want, you could do this at home as well. So I'm going to start. The recipe calls for 4 garlic cloves. Okay, if you want a shortcut, get the frozen garlic cubes. You could use those as well. 4 crushed garlic cubes from the freezer, okay, in here. Woo. Right in, okay. Next, 4 tablespoons. The theme is you're going to see is a lot of 4s. 4 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar into the bag. Next up, we got 4 tablespoons of lemon juice going into the bag. Okay. Next up, I know there's a lot of ingredients in this recipe, but most of them you'll find at home very easily. I didn't have to go out and buy any of it. I have it always in-house. Okay. Next up, we got 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. And okay, next up, we got 1 teaspoon of dried oregano. Basil, again, 1 teaspoon of basil. 1 teaspoon thyme. And a 1/2 teaspoon of crushed red pepper. If you like it hotter, you can add a little more, but it's enough heat. And 2/3 cup of olive oil, that's already also pre-measured. A good thing I like about this recipe is there's no sugar in it. I don't like to put sugar on my protein. I like to keep my proteins without sugar. It's very popular now for accommodating a lot of diets as well. So now I've got everything in the bag, right? It's all in here. I'm gonna take my meat. I'm gonna take my meat, put it into the bag. Now I'm gonna mush it around a little bit to make sure it all gets in everywhere. And I'm gonna stick this bag in the fridge for 2 hours or overnight. I've even frozen it this way so that I could just pop it out. And all it needs is, once it's marinated, defrosted, is either you can, if you like to grill outside, you grill it 8 minutes on each side. That's it, 8 minutes on each side, or you stick it in the broiler, take it out of the marinade, stick it in your oven, put on broil, 8 minutes on each side.
Can I ask you a question, Shiffy? Because this is an ongoing thing. Now, after you've made it, okay, we're going to see the finished product later.
Yes.
When do you cut your meat?
All right, so you gotta let it rest. It comes off the grill. You gotta give it a good 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, let it sit. Don't cut it until you let it rest, because then the juices come out and you don't want that to happen. Another very important thing is, don't reheat it in the oven after you make it. Don't reheat it. London broil needs to be cooked to one temperature, and that's it. If you stick it back in the oven, it's gonna cook more. So the way I make it is, after I make it, and I'll make it close to Shabbat, because it's very easy and it just goes either on the grill or in my oven very quickly. I leave it out on the counter until I'm ready to serve it. Room temperature, it's perfect.
Oh, so you
And
serve
then,
it.
yeah, I serve it room temperature. Also, the great part about it is it's so good in the fridge. You could pop it in a salad the next day. It's such an easy thing to have on hand, and you have a easy main dish of meat that everyone likes.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Personal question. When I go to the store and I'm looking at different cuts of meat, there seems to be different types of London broils. Am I correct?
Yeah, so there is one. I usually buy the thinner flat one. There's one that's called a shoulder. So
Right.
the shoulder, you could 100% use this marinade on the shoulder one. You would have to adjust the cooking time a bit. I don't usually do the shoulder. Another way I've cooked it, which is a new way I've started cooking things, is with a sous vide, if anyone's familiar with that. It's like a little gadget that you pop into the water, and you actually cook the meat in the bag, in the water with I don't have one here, I have it at home, I'm in Sephора's kitchen, but you pop the sous vide in and it keeps the water at a certain temperature. And I could forward information if anyone's interested in cooking it that way. But the 2 ways that I gave you to cook are the fastest and easiest way to do it.
Excellent. Somebody wanted to know in the chat, is there a certain amount of pounds that you look for when you're looking for the London broil?
So about 1.5 to 2 pound London broil, that's generally the pound that I do it.
Great. Thank you so much. We're going to turn it over now to Esty. Thank you, Shiffy, so much. Esty, get ready to introduce our next speaker.
Here I am, back again. My husband wants to get this button for me. It's called mute, but I'm not putting one on myself. Anyway, I'm here and I'd like you to meet our very next speaker, the amazing person. And her name is, let's see who we have up next. I'm just getting it right here. Lee. Now, Lee learned to cook, and she has a very special cookbook from her grandmother. It's a Polish cookbook. The only problem is it's in Polish. So let us hear how Lee learned to cook from her grandmother, why she loves challah, and how her girls are involved. Go, Lee.
Thanks, Esty. Hi, I'm Lee from Long Island, and what Esty said is true. My earliest memories of my grandmother were cooking with her in her kitchen, and I give her all the credit for everything that I'm able to do in the kitchen. I'm a big baker to start, and I also love to cook. But I think the memories that I have of my grandmother, was very lucky that I was able to get some of her recipes by just watching her in the kitchen and writing it down, because as most of you can appreciate, my grandmother, even though she had a cookbook, she always cooked from memory and never really measured anything. So when I was following her around the kitchen as she was making her fabulous stuffed cabbage, I literally had to stop her every minute and say, how much did you put in? How much did you use of that? So I'm lucky to have a few of her recipes, which I make for my family. But I wanted to just spend a minute and talk about my observance of Shabbat. Growing up, I never really observed Shabbat. It was not something that we really paid much attention to be honest. My kids looked at Fridays as an opportunity to just run off and be with their friends. And, you know, I would say typically Friday nights, my husband and I would head to the Plainview Diner. But since going to Israel on the trip in about a year ago, in November of 2019, I really began to appreciate everything that Shabbat was about, really disconnecting and enjoying time with family and friends. And then coming home from Israel, I started doing the same thing with my family. I started lighting Shabbat candles. Even though I'm a big baker, I had never made challah until the first challah bake I did with Jay Inspire, which was probably about a little over a year ago. I think it was for Rosh Hashanah last year. And now I bake challah just about every week. And all through this pandemic, the silver lining for us, like probably many others, was I was able to have my older daughter, who was away in college, home for a couple of months earlier than she expected to be home. And my younger daughter, who is now a freshman in college, was supposed to be away for the summer. So instead, we had our family of 4 home for 5 months together, which was really very much a gift. And we spent Friday nights celebrating Shabbat together and lighting the candles. And we used to say, let's light the candles for a little bit of good juju, or positive spirits, for those that haven't heard that expression before. And even now, both my kids, thankfully, are off in college, and we're still celebrating Shabbat. I work for a healthcare company, and you could probably imagine what it's been like for the last 7 months since March with the pandemic. I work probably 15 or 16-hour days regularly, and Shabbat is really my time to say, I've had enough, and it's time to turn it off, at least for 24 hours. So we've been making sure to take advantage of that. And to make sure that my kids, even though they're away, get to celebrate with us. I make challah just about every week. I actually make it the night before, and I let it do its second rise in the fridge. And I wake up extra early and bake it off and ship it out so that my kids have it to celebrate challah where they are away at school. And it helps us all feel like we're celebrating Shabbat together. And we really appreciate that.
I love what you said, and especially how appropriate it is to get the juju if you're a juju. So that's what we're gonna go for.
Oh, that's great. Esty, and guess what, Esty? You're our cook. So let's see what Esty's gonna be making for us. Let's go to the slideshow. We have sweet surprise chicken and then hopefully some meatballs. Okay, so let's, right, there's the meatballs as well. She has marvelous meatball recipe. So let's see it, Esty. Let's see your kitchen and let's get you to work.
We're gonna work, we're gonna make it work. This is what my motto is. Expect little, give a lot, be joyful, and love always. So we have a very open home and we have a lot of people come. Jay Inspire has been here, many of the participants. We love having them with their husbands and their children. And usually the husband or child will stand up and say, my mother's different since the trip. I'm not sure why, but she seems more content, happier. And we love that our family now lights candles and does the challah. That's like the favorite. So I'm used to cooking a lot and I can't really be bothered with recipes. I'm one of those poor people. Not poor, I mean, that I spill everything in without measuring. But in honor of you, I made up the recipe and I used exact measurements. And you'll see how it comes out. That's why I call it a sweet surprise chicken, because it's going to be a surprise. but here it is. Now, the first thing we have to find is where I put the recipe. I think it just fell. Okay, so it literally disappeared. All right, we'll start with 1 second. Oh, here it is. I told you recipes don't love me. Here's the recipe. So here's the chicken. We're gonna use a live chicken. This is my co-host tonight. Chicken, you're done. Boom. Anyway, here's the chicken, the before and after. Here's the chicken and cut up. You can use as much as you want. Here they are. I'm gonna put them in and I'll lift it to show you what it looks like. So you put it in a pan. There we go. The chicken is now in the pan. Whoa. Here it is. Do you see the chicken in the pan?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now we're going to add, first I like to work with the dry ingredients, okay? That means, as I said, garlic powder, pepper. It's the Jewish way, you know, the Ashkenazi. Onion powder.
Somebody wants to know, can you use chicken breast without bones?
You could use whatever you want. I always say there are chicken police. There's nobody checking the kind of chicken you use, okay? So you can use whatever you want. And here's the powder, the onion powder, and then the paprika. Paprika is the most Jewish thing. At the end, I'm gonna give you a secret, but I might as well tell it to you now. If ever your chicken looks pale, you can give it a tan. The way you do it is you put on some paprika and then you spray it with Pam, so it has that tan.
Can we see a little bit? Can we see it, Esty? Let's see.
Show you the spices. See the spices?
Yes.
This is spices. Now we're putting on the wet ingredients. The wet ingredients are the ½ cup of duck sauce, the ½ cup of honey, the ½ cup of apricot jam, and then the ½ cup of either cranberry sauce or teriyaki sauce. I happen to have done both for you so that you can try each one. So we have a ½ cup right over here. Here you go. Now, everything can be adjusted if you have twice as much. This was 6 pieces of chicken. Like some people paint freehand, I cook freehand. So if you weren't here, I would just pour it on. But since you're watching, I'm going to actually measure it. ½ cup. I have a daughter that she really wishes she was doing this because she happens to like ingredients.
There you go. That's better. I like that. That's a better view, Esty. Thank you.
I told you it doesn't matter tonight. Tonight it wasn't about how good I looked. It's only about how good the chicken looks. I'm not taking it personally. Okay, so now we put the ½ cup of honey. And do you know in the Hebrew, I'll just tell you an interesting thing. The gematria, which is the numerical value of the word dvash, which means honey, is the same as the numerical value of the word isha, which is wife. That is why your husband has to call his wife honey. Honey, come over here. I want to introduce you. My husband's here watching my live audience. Come on. So here's the honey. Whoa. Pour it on, pour it on, pour it on. Feel free. Isn't that fun? You just like pour and you just spill and everything. Okay, so now we're going to put on the apricot jam. Okay, here's a little secret. You know, everyone likes to say a secret. If it's a secret, they think it's like a great thing. But anyway, usually when I make this dietetic, like when it's not the pandemic, I try to eat right. Now I just keep eating. But anyway, I use sugar-free. And you could use that instead of the honey, and that keeps it light, or you just double the amount of the sugar-free.
But just 1 second, somebody had put in the chat that they because of diet reasons, they cannot have onions or garlic. So someone made a suggestion. I just want to emphasize this. The person who mentioned that, I think it was Beth, you might have said something, and Faggy had responded to you that you could use salt, pepper, other herbs, correct? Doesn't have to be garlic. Not only can you use others, but you don't even have to use it. A lot of people will prefer just to use the wet ingredients, you know? Okay, and good. I'm a big believer in improvising. Cooking is creative. I call it KISS, C-I-S. Creative, inspired, and spontaneous. So you could do whatever you want. And it always got different. Whatever you do, just name it surprise. Surprise chicken, surprise meat, surprise string beans, whatever it is. Okay, so here you see what it looks like so far. And the final thing was, as I said, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do the cranberry or the teriyaki. So first of all, I just want to tell everyone that this is all gluten-free. I'm very respectful of people who have
use gluten, so I put on the cranberry sauce. This is the can I used before when I had to cook. By the way, I had to do this twice. First, I had to do it so that I could cook it and show you the finished product. And then again, it's a half a cup of cranberry. So I'm going to do half of it with the cranberry. So you'll see the cranberry. Okay. On 3 of them, I'll do cranberry. And on 3 of them, I'm going to use teriyaki. This teriyaki is gluten-free. It's the LaChoy teriyaki marinated sauce. It's like soy sauce, but look for the purple cover. It's a little saltier, but it's good, the teriyaki. Or you can use Mikey teriyaki, which is sweeter, but this has gluten. So I'm gonna use the gluten-free, and I'm going to pour it on. So 3 of them will have, just to show, just for, as we say, just for demonstration purposes for tonight's show. Ta-da!
Somebody had asked, do you suggest that we should spray the dish with Pam beforehand so that the chicken and the honey and the jam doesn't stick to it?
Excellent idea. I usually do it, but since I didn't write that down, but you should always spray before or after. I usually keep at least 1 or 2 cans of Pam. I'll just show you around my kitchen a little, okay? So that you get a feel of what this place looks like. Okay, so here are all the crazy spices, you see? And behind me, you saw how many Pams? I want you to know, here are all the spices, but basically being Jewish, the only spice I use is, you know, what could I tell you? Paprika, garlic powder, onion powder. But here it is, and wait, there's people watching right there. That's the person who calls me honey. I hope you saw him. And
now you want to show us the meatballs?
I think my husband's better looking than a meatball, but I'll show you the meatball. So basically, this is how it looks. I do use my hand. I'll use a glove now to show you to smush it around, and then you let it marinate. And you can let it marinate an hour, a half hour, if you're in a rush, not at all, or at night. Sometimes if I want to cook for Shabbos, I'll do everything on Thursday night, which is very common, and cook it in the morning. Here's the mush that I'm mushing it around, and it looks really good. And then, as I said, you cook it. It says cook for, it has all the instructions here. You bake it at 350 for 45 minutes, covered and uncovered. But what it is in the middle, you should also take, here, doesn't that look good? And like I said, if you put the paprika on like this, and then you spray it with Pam, it'll look like it's cooked, even though it's not even cooked. 1 second, that little trick.
You gotta get to the meatballs.
I'm getting the meatballs right now. The meatballs are gonna be right with you.
Okay.
This is it. Here we go. I know I'm rushing. Here is the final product before it's cooked.
Excellent. It looks so yum. Thank you, Esty. Let's get to those
Okay,
meatballs.
Meatballs. You have the meat, the chopped meat. The chopped meat is also very easy. I'm doing it in a flat pan. I really do it in a pot, but for demonstration purposes so that you can see.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it this way. Again, the meatball recipe right here. It's similar, you know. We're going to put in the tomato sauce, can of tomato sauce, a can of cranberry sauce, okay, pineapple juice. Here's the pineapple juice. Tang. If you don't have pineapple juice, you could just put a little lemon or a little vinegar. Pineapple, and again, where's my honey? This is a very sweet, it's a delicious dish. Here we go with the honey. And whoa, honey coming up. 1 2 cups. It's the amounts are right on the instructions. And if you need more details, please feel free to text me, wake me up in the middle of the night. I'm usually cooking anyway, Thursday night till very late, or Friday, I'm in the kitchen the whole day. So you have that, that's what's in there. And again, if you want to put garlic or any seasons, but this is basically what it looks like. I'll mix it up so you could see. And it all melts together. And it's really easy. And truthfully, you could make any combination. Sometimes I use marinara sauce instead of ketchup. Instead of tomato sauce, you could put ketchup. You could put marinara sauce. Instead of honey, you could use brown sugar if you're more into that. You don't have to use the cranberry sauce. Again, you could use a delicious
Somebody's asking
jelly.
in the chat. Somebody wants to know on the chat. When the cranberry sauce that you used, it was the gelled one, correct?
Gel, but when I don't have gel, then I use the other kind. But the gel, but if people like don't want the pieces, that's fine. And now the meatballs, I'll show you how I do the meatballs. 1 second. Here we go, the meatballs. You saw all the things in there. Now, just for the fun of it, I'll spray here to make her happy. I cook like as if an army is coming. So I don't know small amounts like 1 pound, 2 pounds. I start with 4 to 6 pounds, but for tonight I did 3 to 4, so this is 4 pounds. But it doesn't matter. And again, if you follow the recipe, you could do it for less. And all you'll find out is that you'll have a lot of sauce that you could add to spaghetti, or you could just use for sloppy Joe. So I keep it very simple, because a lot of the flavor is coming from the sauce. I just put in ketchup. And this is how I really cook without measuring. A little, now that one person who has garlic powder, I feel bad, a little garlic powder and pepper, a drop. I don't even use it if people don't like it. And then either onion powder or onion flakes again. And the onion flakes, you could switch off. And then I'll show you a bowl. Why did I pick meatballs? And I called it the Marvelous Mrs. What is the name? Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So sort of call this the Marvelous Mrs. Meatballs. So any missus who wants to make it, you can't miss. Anyway, hear me. Oh, I'm having fun here. Whoa. I think this is anyone who wants therapy. Now, some people like have these perfect size meatballs. Not me. I'm not like, oh, look at that. It's a perfect meatball. You take your chance. A meatball's a meatball. So you can make them small, you can make them big. And that's the meatball you cook on low until tender, and you'll see. So the irony is, today is Monday night. I had to cook this all twice. We now have 8 pounds of meatballs. We're going to have at least 16 chickens and all that. So you're all invited this Shabbos. I may have drive-by. You can just drive by and I'll hand it to you. But usually we have a house full of company because Shabbos is the best day of the week in my book. As we have many people who come here, and one girl once said from a secular home, she says, Mommy and Daddy, do you realize that for 3 hours you weren't on your phone and you actually talked to me and focused on me? And I love how those other girls dress. Can I come to the table with a dress sometime? So you see that if you do Shabbos, if you serve, remember the way to a man's heart, the way to a woman's heart, the way to many people's heart is through their Shabbos food. So have Shabbos food. It's not all or nothing. Do whatever you can. Make that house smell like challah and cook to your heart's content. And if you give love and warmth, that's what they're going to be attracted to.
Okay, great. Essie, you want to introduce the next inspirational speaker? I think we have Sharon coming up, right?
So right, here comes Sharon. Sharon Berkowitz has 2 daughters, and they're each on their own journey. And I'd like her to tell you about them and what Shabbos means to her and how she feels about maybe having a religious daughter-in-law. Let's hear Sharon. Come on, Sharon.
Hi, I'm Sharon Berkowitz. I am from Belmore, Long Island, and I went on the trip in 7 years ago now. We would be on the trip right now, 7 years ago. Wonderful trip, and it changed my life. I was at that point going through some changes in my head, my own changes about life, friendships, people that I was associating myself with. And I decided to go on the trip, and I loved every minute of it. And when I got home, I was somewhat different. I wasn't as interested in what was going on in the neighborhood. And I got out of the whole head that I was in and was just embracing life, embracing my family. And now I don't light candles every Friday. I have to be honest. But when I do, I feel good about it. We try to do it often. And when I got back, my daughters went on birthright, and then one daughter decided to take a gap year and go to a seminary in Israel, and she loved it so, and she studies Judaism, and now she is modern Orthodox. She is in Israel now at Hebrew University studying Judaism, Judaic studies, and Middle Eastern religions, and she's on her own journey, and it's a lovely thing, and it's made me very happy. At first, I was extremely nervous about it, thinking, oh, I'm going to have a religious daughter, and she's going to be completely different from me, and but then realizing that the women that I met on my trip, especially the Orthodox women that I met from the trip itself, Esti, Sephora, Shifi, Rifki, and the wonderful women I met from other states and so forth, are similar, lovely. I consider them my friends now. I don't consider them anything else but. love them all. And I embrace the religion. I embrace my daughter. I embrace everything about it. It was a wonderful trip, wonderful experience, and we're still going through it every day. So that's my story.
Thank you so much, Esty. We also have another one, right? We have one more inspirational speaker to end the evening. Just unmute yourself, Esty.
Okay, I want to just make one point. Sharon told us that she has 2 daughters, and one took the road towards more religious, and she was a little hesitant. And now her other daughter's in California. And she said that at one point she was worried about her daughter becoming religious, but now her greater fear is that her other daughter is going to marry non-Jewish. And given the choice, she realizes that she's been blessed. So we all have to appreciate who we are and where we are. And our next speaker is going to talk about her empty nest, because her kids all just went off to college, but she's still embracing Shabbos. Let's hear what she does. And this is Terry. And she might even give us a surprise guest. Terry, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all. Boy, I really worked up an appetite here tonight, I'll tell you. I want meatballs, Esty, that's for sure. Anyway, I wanted to talk about, before we get into the empty nesting, I just wanted to talk about my relationship with Shabbat and how it's been transformed prior to the trip, during the trip, and after the trip. And then I'll get into the empty nesting really quickly. But just like Lee, I grew up in a non-observant home, and I went to, we observed Shabbat maybe a couple of times when my son was in Hebrew school, and it was kind of like a mandatory thing through Hebrew school. And we enjoyed it, but I just didn't really grab onto it. And that was it. I went on the trip in 2019, November. And the Shabbat that we observed was at the top of the Aish building. And it was just magical. It was learning the prayers, the blessings, being amongst all the women on the trip. And it was just magical. That's the only way to describe it. I wanted to bring it home. I wanted to take it home. And I wanted to do the same for my family. And when I got home, things kind of, I walked into my house, I needed to unpack, I needed to take the dog to the groomer, the kids had homework, they needed to be driven places. And I thought to myself, I want to do this so badly. I want to have this beautiful Shabbat dinner. And how am I going to get this all done? And I struggled with it for a while. I wanted it to be right. I wanted it to be perfect. And through speaking with my friends or trip leaders and the other women in the group, I kind of came to an epiphany that it's not an all or nothing type of relationship with Shabbat. It's making the effort, it's being present, and it's just being amongst your family. It doesn't mean that if I didn't bake the challah myself and I bought it at Fairway, that it's not good enough. So I just wanted to put it out there that it's really being present and celebrating and just not putting any pressure on yourself, but lighting the candles, feeling that illumination and that light, being with your loved ones and your friends and enjoying the evening. And as long as you're always pushing yourself to be a better person, that's the most important thing. And now on to the empty nesting, is that Esty did mention, my husband and I now are, have this house with our little doggy here. And what we've been doing is inviting our friends over, and we sit in the backyard, we light a fire in the backyard, we light the candles, and it's just been a really, really nice thing. We say prayers to our children, we speak about our children, we honor them, and this is how we observe Shabbat now in my home.
Oh, what about, you have a special treat for us though.
Oh, David, come on.
Come on, the special treat.
Hurry up.
Hurry up.
Okay, I do have a special treat. It's my husband. And we have a little entertainment tonight.
Yes.
And without further ado, hurry up.
Oh, come on, we're all so excited. Everyone's
okay, hurry up. Can we put somebody else on for 2 minutes?
Okay, I'll sum up a little bit, and okay. I'll cue Terry back on. So I just wanted to thank all the people. Let's go to the cooks. Let's go to the cooks before I thank everybody. Why don't we see the finished product? Let's go to Tzipora and Shiffy. Can we see the finished product, what it would look like? That London broil. Let's see the deconstructed wonton chicken. That Elisa, go back to Tzipora. Elisa, can you get a screen?
There you go. 2 for 1, 2 for 1.
Well, let's put the screen on Tzipora's screen.
Not on?
Right now I see myself. I mean, I don't mind looking at myself, but that's okay. There you are. Can we see the product?
Okay, you ready? Here.
OMG. Yum, 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 yum.
And here.
That looks awesome. I love the colors. I love everything in the presentation. I love how you did that, ladies. Thank you so, so much for joining us this evening. Esty, can we see the finished product in your kitchen, Esty?
Hey,
In Esty's kitchen. Let's see it, Esty.
you remember the before and after? Here's the before, the chicken and the meatballs. And I really just cooked it. I didn't plate it yet. So here's the chicken. Here's the meatballs first.
Wow. Yum, 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 yum.
Everything. Whoa.
Excellent. Yum.
It's the
And
two
the
different,
chicken.
as I told you.
Thank
And
you.
I have that little tan. So the food good and the invitation stands. Shabbos.
I'm coming, Esty. Okay, Terry said she's ready. Terry said she's ready. Let's go back to Terry. Here we go. You're on mute though, Terry. You're on mute. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, Terry.
Okay, so this is a little song from my husband from Fiddler on the Roof called Shabbat Prayer.
Okay.
David.
Go. Terry's husband.
Terry's husband.
You have no name. Don't worry about it.
David.
David.
Juvenile.
Okay, David. Hit it.
May the Lord protect and defend you. May the Lord deliver you from shame. May you come to be in Israel a shining name. May you be like Ruth and like Esther. May you be deserving of praise. Strengthen them, O Lord, and keep them from the stranger's ways. May God bless you and grant you long. May the Lord fulfill our Shabbat prayer for you. May God make you good mothers, and may He send you husbands who will care for you. May the Lord protect and defend you. May He always heal you from pain. Favor them, O Lord, with happiness and peace. Oh, hear our Shabbat prayer. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
That was outstanding. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Terry. That was
Thank you.
beautiful. Thank you. And I just want to thank everybody for coming. Before I start telling you about some other great events that we have, I just want to thank all the speakers. Allison, your beautiful thought of seeing things as a privilege. Things aren't a burden. We should feel privileged to do different things. I want to thank Jody. Dear God, I love that. I'm going to incorporate that. Dear God, make that a tradition in my journey in life. Lee, that was outstanding. I love when you light those candles, the juju. Let's bring the juju into our lives. And we had Sharon, who spoke about her daughter's journey. How beautiful is that? Her journey turned into her daughter's journey. I love that. That's beautiful. And then Terry, you finished it off for us with that empty nest. Look what the two of you have done. That beautiful song. I just loved it. David, thank you so much. This was a beautiful journey tonight. And you know what? It doesn't end here. We have other programs. Let's get those slides up there. I want you to see what's going on in Project Inspire. Look, we have MindFlex later on this week. Mind Flex is a weekly mini series that's happening. So if you see on Wednesday, October 28th, you could how to love Jews you are trying not to hate. That's really hard to do. Okay, it's always easy. They always say if you see someone at the bus stop and you want to give them a ride, it's always easy to do that, except for when it's someone you don't like. That's the challenge. Okay, our next flyer. Tomorrow night. This is unique. We have Rabbi Sittner speaks to us for a few minutes, and then we go out to breakout rooms. And there are different leaders, yours truly is one of them, that runs a breakout room, and there are a set of sources that you can learn with different leaders from different branches. And it's really exciting. You get a little bit more personal, a little bit more one-on-one. I hope to see you there tomorrow night. And let's see what else we have happening. Next week, the great big challah bake. We have the Shabbos project coming. This is virtual. Look for it November 4th. We have Miriam Sandler performing. She is awesome, outstanding. We're going to have breakout rooms again. We have our own Miriam. Miriam is running a breakout room from Toronto. We're going to have a gluten-free room. You could, hopefully there'll be a Long Island room. We have, oh my gosh, you know what? We have LA joining us, Atlanta, Arizona. Baltimore. There are so many people joining in this global big great challah bake. I hope you'll be able to join. Look out for the flyer. And then our last event that I'd like you, now if you really like things really one-on-one, you can learn one-on-one. And look out in Project Inspire for a special learning. If you feel you just want something private, you want to learn something, is there something that you've always wanted to learn more about? A subject, a book, this is your chance to do it. Contact Project Inspire, and they'll love to set you up with somebody to learn privately. So I want to thank everybody. Thank you, the cooks. Thank you so much, Esti. Thank you, Shippy. Thank you, Tzipora. Thank you, Aliza, behind the scenes. We can't do it without you. Next week, we are skipping because of all the big events that are going on next week. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks for our Cholent episode. And really, everyone have a great, great night. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you. Have a good Shabbos in about a few more days. Love you. Looking forward to more events and more good times.
Have a great night.
Unbelievable.